Hey everyone, welcome in. Thank you so much for being here today. Would love to know where you're tuning in from by using the chat. Gonna go ahead and kick things off for us. Hello everyone, and welcome to the Massage Magazine Insurance Plus webinar series in session. You might also recognize us as Massage Magazine or MIP for short. I'm Shannon, excited to be your co-host today. If you're new to MIP, we're an all-inclusive liability insurance provider for massage therapists, bodywork professionals, Reiki practitioners, and more across the United States. Our mission is to support you with quality coverage that gives you peace of mind in your practice. But we don't stop at insurance. We also offer a wide range of exclusive member benefits, including discounts on industry products, up to 50 free CE courses with Neil Asher, other amazing continuing education opportunities, and a wide range of valuable resources tailored with the massage and bodywork community in mind. To learn more, I'll be dropping our website link in the chat for easy finding. Just some quick housekeeping tips. A reminder that today's webinar will run for 1 hour and it is being recorded. The recording will be emailed to everyone this week. Today's webinar is also eligible for CEU credit through our CE provider, Neil Asher. Instructions for earning the CEU will be shared in the chat toward the end of the session and included in the post-webinar follow-up email along with the full recording. We encourage you to ask questions, so feel free to use the chat or the Q&A feature, and we'll be monitoring both throughout. And we'll also be reserving the last 10 minutes for a Q&A session. With that said, let's dive in. The topic for today's webinar is nervous system informed assessment and bodywork for active clients. Please join me in welcoming our host, Josh Williams, a visionary and nervous system informed bodywork and founder of the Touch Code Method. With a BS in exercise science, a doctoral candidacy in occupational therapy at Hawaii Pacific University, and over 2 decades as a licensed massage therapist in Oregon and Hawaii, Josh is also a certified health and wellness coach. His expertise spans exercise physiology, cardiac rehab, luxury resort spas, and his concierge bodywork studio in Bend, Oregon. Josh's innovative touch code method blends biomechanics, manual therapy, and nervous system science for humans and horses. A lifelong student of movement and meditation, he combines evidence-based skill with creative, story-driven approaches to transformation. We're excited to have him share his innovative approach with us today. Welcome, Josh, and thank you so much for tuning into MIPS in Session webinar series.
Great. Thank you so much, Shannon. And hi, everybody. I'm so excited to be with you all. Massage therapists are just the best. And I mean that authentically. I've been doing this for 24 years. I've met some of the most incredible people, such a diverse range. The work you do is so important. The world we live in today, it's so divided. People are so disconnected, and I really believe that we offer the antidote through the connection we provide people, the incredible services you provide. I know it's a hard job. Thank you for the work you do. And thanks for tuning in today. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of other things you could be doing today, but you came here to work on your career, to work on your skills, and to share knowledge with me and with Shannon and everybody involved here. So thanks for showing up and thanks for being here. And I hope this is helpful for you. I'm going to share my slides here. All right, so welcome to my webinar on nervous system informed assessment and bodywork for active clients. So I'm sure you're all thinking, all right, assessments, the glamorous and adrenaline fueled world of range of motion assessments and documentation. I know we all became massage therapists for spreadsheets and data, right? But this really is not about data for data's sake. It's not about better assessments or fancier techniques. What I'm hoping to share with you today is kind of a new perspective. It's more about creativity and connection and meaning making for you and your clients. And hopefully something that can shift your practice, help you get paid more, and most importantly, help your clients get better results. So, if I could just share a little bit, many of us came into massage therapy as part of a deeper calling. I know for me, I was really young when I started, and I just thought it was magical to be able to work with people's bodies and to help them realize their potential, be a part of the healing arts world. It was just a way to combine my love of all those things. And passion, purpose, healing, human connection, these are powerful things that we get to interface with in a way that a lot of wellness and healthcare providers don't. I mean, we spend 60, 90 minutes directly with our people. You know, However, unfortunately, the reality is a lot of times we end up having to settle in our careers. We might not work with the people we really want to work with. We might not be making the money we hope for. And many of us are flirting with exhaustion, injury, and burnout. I can only say that because I've been there. And, the thing is, when we try to be everything to everybody, sessions get routine. The market's pushing us to compete on price, and it can get harder to stand out. I just call that, it's like a race to the bottom. But the good news is we don't have to run that race. And I want to share with you guys today some ideas about nervous system informed body work and assessments to just help offer a new path, a new creative outlet for your art and your work. And if you don't mind, before I get into, some of the nuts and bolts here, if we could just go a little deeper for a second, because, this isn't really about business or it's not really about assessments. At a core, at the very core, this is one of the most transformative forces we can offer as healers, and that's hope. As Desmond Tutu says, Nobel Peace Prize recipient, hope is being able to see that there is light despite all the darkness. And look, hope isn't fluffy. It's actually evidence-based. Strong therapeutic alliance predicts outcomes as much as the techniques we use. We're going to share a resource pack with you that's got links to different journal articles and whatnot. And several of them talk about this thing called therapeutic alliance. And I just want to repeat that because I think it's kind of crazy. Like, strong therapeutic alliance predicts outcomes as much as the techniques we use. So we'll be talking a lot about that later. But what this really means is that our presence, our regulation, our intention, it gives clients something that maybe they haven't felt in years. I kind of look at it like a mirror and a map. It's a mirror to see themselves with clarity, like self-awareness, and a map that helps them believe in where they're headed, and that's hope. Early in my career and still today, I suffer from imposter syndrome. Even getting ready for this webinar, I was like, what am I doing here? What do I have to share with all these, amazing people tuning in from all over the country? And when I first got out of massage school, I waited 6 months to go interview for a job because I was so nervous to work on the lead massage therapist or the spa director. And I definitely just figured assessments and things like that were out of my scope. And sometimes when you do some research or reading, it'll straight up say that, it's like you should only use goniometers, these things that measure joint angles by, licensed medical professionals, and often they don't include massage therapists in there. So we're going to talk a lot about scope and how you can actually use these tools in creative and meaningful ways while staying in scope. And for me, what I thought was a good way to get out of imposter syndrome was just to keep working on my education, my training, my technique, because I had just figured the right knowledge and great technique was what was needed to, be good at my job. And I didn't realize that in all that work I was doing that I was missing the key that kind of unlocked it all. So, I recently went back to school. I'm in grad school as a doctoral candidate in occupational therapy, and I got exposed to these evidence-based assessment models, and for occupational therapists, it's totally in scope. And it was a great window into that world. And also the art and science of behavior change and health and wellness coaching. That's when the light bulb started going off for massage therapy. I learned the power of what occupational therapy calls the therapeutic use of self, and that assessments don't have to be just diagnostic tools. All the scope conversations are like, you can't diagnose, right? When in doubt, refer out. So, who says we have to use assessments to diagnose? We can get creative. We can use them as ways to build rapport and therapeutic alliance. And that's exactly what builds client self-efficacy, and it leads to holistic, sustainable, and positive client outcomes. So, what I saw as a limitation, my imposter syndrome, our limited scope within the medical model, um, staying in scope by not diagnosing is what gives us freedom because we're not tied to giving our clients labels. We can use assessments more creatively as tools for meaning making and connection. Ultimately, it's about evoking belief and hope in our clients about themselves and their ability to reach their goals. So this process of meaning making turns our clients' problems, hopes, and goals into the elements of a powerful story. And through our therapeutic alliance, we can guide them to be the hero of that story. So when this happens, they not only get amazing results, they'll become your biggest advocates. And it's a great way to build a wait list only practice without advertising. So by the end of our time together today, you'll know how to run some simple intakes using validated tools that build trust and give you numbers you can track without stepping outside of scope. We'll talk more about how you can turn those results into a story your clients can see themselves in, and how to apply the principles of nervous system informed touch to help clients feel safe and get results that last. And finally, you can adopt this method to any niche you choose without reinventing the wheel every time. Runners, pickleball players, weekend warriors, whoever excites you most. I wanted to focus on active clients today because A, it's the title of the webinar, and B, it's who I tend to work with in my practice. I work with a lot of runners. Lately, I've been collaborating with pickleball players. It's one of the most popular sports in America. It's a great niche. But this isn't just about adding more techniques. It's about transformation for your clients and differentiation for you in the marketplace. It's about moving out of that race to the bottom pricing game and stepping into your own special niche where you get to define the value and write the story. It's about keeping you inspired, creative, and free from burnout. I don't want this just to be another boring webinar you grind through to get your CEO and never think of it again. So I'm going to start off by sharing with you 5 philosophy of success principles. It's kind of like teaching you to fish rather than giving you a fish. So I want you to make this work your own. This is, Steal Like an Artist. If you've ever heard that title, it's a book I read once and I thought it was genius. There really aren't any totally original ideas in the world. We're all just borrowing ideas and combining them in unique ways. So take everything you get today and make it your own. And this is probably a good time to start taking some notes if you haven't already. So the first philosophy of success is about learning. So, if you ever heard this stat before, you'll only remember 20% of what I say today by tomorrow. And that's if you're really paying attention. So, I mean, how many of us are driving in a car or have a couple other windows open or scrolling on our phone on the side? So, 20% is not a lot. So, here's some tricks to make it stick. As Bruce Lee famously said, absorb what is useful, discard what is not, but most importantly, add your own truth. So these little tricks help you add your own truth. All right, so the first thing you do, grab a piece of paper, draw a line right down the middle. So you got a top half and a bottom half. On the on the bottom half is where you make notes, and on the top half is where you take notes. And what I mean by that is on the top half, take notes, write down keywords that you think are interesting, maybe some ideas I share with you don't want to forget. On the bottom half is where you make your own notes. Maybe you have an idea, maybe you have a thought about a client of yours or somebody you want to connect with or something unrelated that just like a creative idea that comes out. You can draw pictures if that's helps you learn. So on the top half you take notes, and on the bottom half you make notes. And that idea comes from learning and memory expert Jim Quick. So let's just start together right now. Let's start making some notes together. On the bottom half of the paper, you write down three questions. The first one is what? Question mark. So what is this about in your own words? Not necessarily what I'm saying. If you had to, if I was hanging out with you having coffee tomorrow, I was like, what were we talking about yesterday? How would you describe it? Two is so what? Question mark. Like, why does this matter? And more importantly, why does it matter to you specifically? And three is now what? How can you use this tomorrow? Like literally tomorrow, or maybe later this afternoon if you're seeing clients. So now we're not just taking notes, we're making notes, which makes this training something you can take and make your own. And I can't wait to see what you do with it. So another key principle, philosophy of success number two, and my kids were laughing at me. I had to get Gandalf and Yoda into my slides somehow, is to move from this idea from a technician to a trusted guide. One of the most important shifts in my career was realizing I was not the hero in the practice room. My client was. For years, I thought the secret was technique, and that was me just kind of covering up my insecurities and trying to get out of that imposter syndrome I was talking about earlier. More training, more modalities, more technical stuff. And I would see other therapists who had less training, took things honestly kind of more casually, and they were having more success. They were getting more repeat bookings, or didn't have to advertise as much. And I always wonder why, what's going on? And I believe they were framing their work differently. They knew something I was missing. It's more about the relationship with the client than about the technique they're applying. Then regarding business, I was reading a book by Donald Miller called Story Brand, and he put it simply, the businesses that thrive make the customer the hero and themselves the guide. And that kind of flipped everything for me. So think Obi-Wan, not Luke, Gandalf, not Frodo. When I stepped back into the guide role, not only could I relax more, but my clients began believing in themselves more, and that's results got better, stickier, more fun. Okay, now third philosophy of success is the power of context. So look, skill matters. We wouldn't all be here today if we didn't care about skill, learning, and furthering our career, growing as massage therapists. It matters. But context is what really changes everything. And I don't know if any of you have heard of this incredible experiment that the Washington Post did with Joshua Bell a long time ago. Joshua Bell is one of the world's greatest classical violinists. He's world renowned, plays at the like fanciest concert auditoriums across the world. He's exceptional. And they thought, well, what would happen if Joshua Bell just went to a New York City subway and played? Now, he took his $3.5 million Stradivarius. That violin he's playing is priceless, really. It could not be replaced. And he showed up at the subway. He's positioned himself where the acoustics were amazing. And he played compositions that were known for their depth and complexity. And hardly anybody stopped. 1,097 people passed by him. Guess how many stopped? I can't hear you, but I'm curious, like, what you think. I mean, I would have thought maybe at least 100. No, the answer was seven. Seven people out of 1,097 actually stopped. 27 dropped off some money, and he made a grand total of $32.17. But that's skewed because that included a $20 bill from somebody that recognized him. So, anyway, the same music, the same extraordinary skill. I mean, this guy's at the mountaintop of skill, completely ignored in the subway. In a concert hall in the same city, those tickets average for over $100 a seat. So the difference is just context. So what I'm getting at here is that Assessments and framing give your work that concert hall effect. They elevate massage from just another session to a guided transformation your clients understand, value, feel like they are an active participant in, and will invest real money toward. And here's the thing, context doesn't just change perception. This isn't just an idea, it actually changes physiology. And what I'm talking about here, and there are many studies linked in your toolkit you'll get in your email, some of them by Ellen Langer. And she did a lot of research on the placebo and the nocebo effect. And one of these research studies showed how hotel mates actually lost weight, real pounds of weight lost, and improved other health markers just when they were told their daily chores counted as exercise. Nothing else changed. It's just the frame and the context. So, in this same way, when you frame assessments as a story of progress, clients don't just see you differently, their body physiologically responds differently. Context fuels belief, belief seeds hope, and hope fuels outcomes. Okay, so the next philosophy of success is niching down and pricing up. When your work looks the same as everyone else's, the only thing left to compete on is price. In business terms, that's called the commoditization trap. It hurts my soul when I see therapists advertising locally for like 50 or $60, for the first session. Like it's just, it's not good. It's a race to the bottom. So instead, think about a blue ocean. Now, a red ocean, this is kind of dark, so I apologize, but a red ocean symbolizes a competitive, hungry market where sharks are all fighting over the same food. It's stressful, it's exhausting. But in a blue ocean, you're not competing at all. You've created your own category in your own blue ocean. Now, the most successful companies all do this. But as massage therapists, we can do it with a lot of integrity. We actually have it easier than like an Apple or a Nike. Those companies, they have to trick us, into like basically thinking the shoes are going to make us jump higher or that the type of computer we use is going to make us more creative or successful. However, the what we provide as massage therapists, we are really providing tangible transformation for people. We really deliver transformation in every session. We just have to name it and claim it. So assessments are a tool that make this practical. You tailor your intake to your favorite niche. Maybe it's runners. Maybe it's pickleball players. Maybe it's something else. We'll do a little exercise in a little bit so you can find your niche. And then suddenly you'll be the go-to expert for that niche. It gives you referral power, pricing power, and the ability to get above that $60 race to the bottom. All right, the final, last but definitely not least principle of success today is a trauma-informed perspective. This is a really crucial point. Good assessment is trauma-informed. This means we invite curiosity instead of judgment. Frame differences as patterns, not flaws. Look for what's strong, not what's wrong. Remember Joshua Bell in the subway, context matters. And one of my favorite quotes relating to this is from the great author and therapist Gabor Mate, who said, safety is not the absence of threat, it's the presence of connection. And wow, what do we offer clients but connection, right? So, and actually, here we got one more philosophy of success. Nervous system informed touch. I'm sure we all had that light bulb moment, studying massage and working in the industry where it's just like, wow, everything is about the nervous system. At the end of the day, our central nervous system, our brain, our emotions, our thoughts, our feelings, our perceptions, the way we use our body, everything is between the central nervous system and the peripheral nervous system. You take that out, and there's like really like we don't exist, right? So, where this really came home to me in a more practical, tangible way was in my work with horses. I do a lot of equine assisted body work, and I love it. It was really like a game changer for me in my career. It helped me get more creative and see things differently. And the thing is horses don't talk. They don't use words. They do talk, but they don't use words like we do. So, and I had to refine my ability to listen and develop what I call listening hands. And then I learned this fact that over 80% of our peripheral nerves is somatosensory, meaning they travel from the body to the brain, body to brain, 80%. So think about that for a second. Like, your job is working with people's bodies. 80% of their nerves are traveling right back to their brain. So there's all these interesting sensory inputs that you can explore in our manual therapy and you can look for in assessments. And this is stuff you can train yourself to do over time. This doesn't happen overnight. Things like proprioception, interoception, motor control, awareness, and I think perhaps most important, your own grounded presence. I call this in my work with horses neuroceptive presence. That's like the technical nerdy name, but the fun simple name is present hands. You start with present hands and then you move to listening hands. And that's when you get the foundation of real change. And that's a lot of what I'm talking about when I talk about nervous system informed touch. So, so hopefully, this kind of helps you see the way of thinking behind some of this, pulling back the curtain a little bit. Assessment is not about diagnosing, it's about direction, rapport, and story. Carl Rogers was the guy who kind of created this theoretical framework called humanistic theory. The thought of like holistic treatment kind of came out of that. It's a really cool model, amazing framework. It's really popular in coaching too. And he had this quote called, "The good life is a process, not a state of being. It's a direction, not a destination." That makes me think of my other favorite saying that the joy is in the journey. And I don't know who said that, so I can't attribute it, but it's all about direction rather than like getting there, right? So with that frame, let's look at what direction you'd like to go in your practice before we explore the actual assessments and some of the nervous system informed methods you can implement. So it's definitely a good time to get out your paper and let's talk about what direction maybe would inspire you in terms of your niche. Okay. And here's a little blueprint, and we'll send you these slides if you don't have if you're not in a good spot to do this right now. But if you are, follow along with us and let's do this together. So, this is a simple blueprint for creating your own blue ocean, a space where you're not competing on price, but you're standing out for the transformation you want to be known for. And it's actually pretty simple. You identify your niche, the population you're passionate about. You get really clear on their problems, the challenges of their body that hold them back. And then you get really clear on what they want to see happen. What are the outcomes? What's better look like to them? And then you pair and find some scope appropriate assessments that help measure those outcomes. And then you take them on a healing journey where they're the hero and you're the guide. All right, so here's the exercise. On the left of the slide, you see those three circles, the Venn diagram. On the top, I want you to think about what do you know well? And I'm sorry, on the top, what are you really excited about? What are you passionate about? Like what lights you up, in other words. And, I might say live music lights me up, but let's keep this bodywork centric. Let's keep this in your career as massage therapist. Like what lights you up? I really enjoy working with athletes. There's just something about people that are interested in exploring their potential that I think is fascinating, and I'm passionate about working with those people. I think they're very engaged, they're very active participants in their sessions. Where I live in Central Oregon, we have a really robust ultra endurance running community. The fascinating people. Running is like a spiritual experience for these folks, and I love helping them on their journey. So, what are you passionate about? What lights you up? What's interesting to you? What kind of people do you want to be hanging out with? So, now we're going to move down to the right. What are you really good at? What do you know well? Are you maybe you're have a yoga background and you're really good at passive assisted stretching. Maybe you have a background in structural integration and you really are good at technical deep work to help create balance in the structure. Maybe you really like more gentle treatments like craniosacral therapy, and that's where you shine. What are you passionate about? Don't think about money. Don't think about clients. Don't think about marketing. Just in a perfect world, if you could do whatever you want, what would you do in your bodywork career? What are you passionate about? Okay. Now, the third Venn diagram is what what do people want? Like, what will people pay for? Where's demand? For me, ultra runners, I mean, that's a hungry crowd. Like they work very hard at their craft. A lot of them have pretty serious day jobs and they invest a lot of their time and money in going to races. They travel around the world and do these things, and their health of their body is paramount to them. So think about that. Like, where's demand? Cyclists is another great one. Pickleball players. A lot of pickleball players, not all, but a lot tend to be a little older, like over 50. What happens when you get over 50? Injuries start to happen more. They don't want to spend, they work their whole life. They've got themselves set up well. They want to go have fun. They don't want to be dealing with injuries. So they're hungry for sessions. So think about those three things. And hopefully you've got a couple now that overlap. See the little space in the center? Those are probably good spots. That might be a sweet spot. That might be your niche. So chew on that. Think about it. And you don't have to have it perfect today. Even just sketching this out a little bit, it kind of plants a seed. When you name your niche, you can see where your messaging gets clearer, going back through the 5 steps. Once you get really clear on who it is, if we're talking about ultra runners, I'm going to know that chronic injuries and injury prevention is going to be all their problems are going to relate to that. If I'm talking about pickleball players, we got this interesting upper body and lower body combination. A lot of them are going to be dealing with shoulder problems, external rotation. There's could be a lot of ankle and knee issues. So you really get to know that niche, and then you get really good at defining their problems. Similar with outcomes. So you want you to define the population, you get really clear on the problems and the solutions, and then your service gets more referable, your work starts standing out in the marketplace. So without any further ado, let's get into some of these practical scope appropriate assessments. In the exciting world of assessments, there's basically two camps we can borrow from. There's forms the client fills out. You can have them fill it out in advance or as part of an intake session. And we call those self-report tools. And then the other are physical tests that you can perform in your clients where you measure things. So I'm going to give you a few examples here today, and they'll all be in the resource pack that we email you to. These are things you can Google and research on your own. Google Scholar is great for finding evidence-based things. Everything I'm giving you today is validated, meaning it's evidence-based. It's past that gold standard check and in the high levels of our science world. And um, and the physical checks are the same. And I think that's important to keep you rooted in credibility. And just remember the big take home for staying in scope, this is not diagnostic. We're not diagnosing things. We're not telling them when they're better. We're not clearing them for activity, these kind of things. We're helping them create meaning and story around their therapeutic journey. It helps them with self-awareness and it helps you with therapeutic rapport. Okay. So on that note, I just want to hammer this home, and I know I'm repeating this a bit, but it's just so dang important. I got to keep going back to it, okay? What really makes assessments effective, it's not the form, the scale, or the score. I'm going to give you some good ones here that are good to start with, but there are like dozens and dozens of these things out there that are validated. The core, no matter what you use, no matter what you do, is this thing called therapeutic alliance. Again, in occupational therapy, we call it the therapeutic use of self. It's the same idea. It's the idea that who you are in the room matters just as much about what you do with your hands. That concept was deeply influential by Carl Rogers' humanistic psychology, and he emphasizes things like empathy, unconditional positive regard, and authenticity. I just want to double click on that word, unconditional positive regard. I mean, that is such a cool thing, it's like it's basically a way of saying non-judgmental awareness. It's something that Buddhists say. And when clients feel accepted without judgment, they don't feel like they just have problems to fix. They're people with stories that are going somewhere. You see the difference? One is like looking forward, the other is looking backward. That's where we get to shine as massage therapists. We don't have to diagnose and just talk about all the problems. We get to help them get to where they want to go. Empathy and reflection. It's about listening deeply, mirroring the words back. This just helps people feel seen and understood. We all need that. That's extremely therapeutic. We offer autonomy and choice. This one of my favorite words is evoke. We don't prescribe, and it's out of our scope, right? We can evoke. Clients own their goals. It's their goals. And that ownership is what will create their follow through. The more we can evoke their ownership and their hope for the outcome they want, the more likely they will to follow through and the better results they're going to get. And, last but not least is the strength-based framing. Don't just point out flaws, and I've certainly fallen into that before. Oh, wow, your hamstring over here is so tight. It's like it's so easy to do. We're so programmed to focus on flaws. But think about patterns and possibilities. That's where hope lives. You look for what's strong, not what's wrong. So, last thing is assessments are not interrogations, they're invitations. Data builds charts, but rapport builds change. And when you lead with alliance, every tool you use becomes more effective. Okay? So here's just a few examples of some actual validated assessments that you can use. This first one, and these are kind of the simplest way to start. These are the self-report tools. Some of these are real short. One of them is a little longer. And they're not about diagnosing. It's about listening, creating that buy-in, and it gives a way to help them find your clients find their own words for what they're trying to get at. So this one, you literally ask your client to name 2 or 3 meaningful activities. It might be run a mile without knee pain. It might be um, to get my swing back in pickleball without shoulder pain in my right external rotation, if they've been to PT and know that kind of language. Um, Now, why this is powerful because you're measuring their goals and their words. This is how we get to that story-driven care. And then you can reflect it back to them. So playing pickleball without shoulder pain is your mountain to summit. Let's track that together. You start the journey that way. Okay, another one here is called the NPRS. And again, all these PDFs will be in that packet too. This is a classic 0 to 10 pain scale. It takes seconds, everybody understands it. This is really good for before and after sessions to anchor change. Think of that context, Joshua Bell experiment, where we want them to focus on things so that they believe and evoke in their own healing journey more, right? So just remember, when you're talking about this, that pain isn't the whole story, it's just a signal. All right, another one is called the Global Rating of Change, or GROC. And this one, you can start people off with like a simple one-liner. Compared to before, how's your condition now? And this is one of those that has a -7 to +7 scale. The magic of how these things work, I'll never fully understand. Just know that a lot of great minds have put a lot of work into these and they look really simple, almost even like a little too simple sometimes, but these really work. They're very effective. And not every assessment has to be quite this simple either. If you want to get a little deeper, if you're into like mindfulness and self-awareness type stuff, there's some really interesting assessments that go into that too. Like this one is called the MAIA2, the Multidimensional Assessment of Interoceptive Awareness. What a mouthful. So this is a validated research-backed questionnaire that measures how people perceive signals from their own body. Things like noticing breath, sensing muscle tension, or trusting their gut feelings. Now, this is a longer form. This is something you might want to give people before a session, unless you have just integrated a long intake into your session. But um, I just wanted you to see like where some of these go. And then you can do them before, after, mid-session series. It's a great way if you're trying to develop packages to help chart progress. Okay. Now we're going to move on to some of the quick physical checks inside Massage Scope. Now, these are quick, non-diagnostic screens, and really you can add these in just a couple of minutes. Um, First one is range of motion. I love gonimeters. This is one of those things I thought was out of scope, and sometimes when you look stuff up, it'll basically say it is out of scope. But it's always in the frame of if you're using this to tell them that they have a condition or that they do not have a condition based on the measurements. So just be very upfront with clients. I find they really appreciate it when just say, hey, I'm not a doctor. I'm not a physical therapist. I'm not here to give you a prescription or a diagnosis. But I do like to keep track of some of these things because it helps shows progress session to session. It helps us focus on maybe something that we can work on to help you reach your goals, something like that. And the gonimeters are a lot of fun. I learned some of this in grad school. And for us massage therapists, you pull out your anatomy and kinesiology books, grab a meter. They're cheap and easy to find, and get a friend and start just testing it out a little bit. You'll want to practice this one a bit in advance. And rather than try to test every muscle and joint in the body, you don't need to. Find just a couple of key ones in the hip extension, hip abduction, glute max, glute medius. Find external rotation is a great one for the shoulder. Honestly, if you just start with those three, that's a great starting point. I've included some links to a pretty amazing trainings and YouTube that will get you started off on this. It's a lot of fun, it's interactive, and as Zig Ziglar says, you don't have to be great to begin, but you have to begin to get great. Okay, another one here is called manual muscle testing. This is very old school, very evidence-based, works great. Again, preface with that saying like, hey, um, I'm not a doctor, I'm not here to prescribe or to tell you, what's wrong with you. We're actually just trying to help you reach your goals here. And these are some ways that we can find how your patterns are showing up. And think of it as giving the muscle like a gentle challenge and seeing how it responds. Again, I gave you a link to some trainings on this. It's pretty easy. Pick three motions to start with. Don't get caught up in all the little micro muscles of the forearm, you know. Just start with the prime movers and go from there. It's amazing. And what this really does, like the assessment on interoceptive awareness, it helps people just focus on their bodies. And we're massage therapists, we're always thinking about bodies. A lot of people out there in the world, they're never thinking about their body. So this helps them focus on their body. It's more about that than the actual measurement for our scope. Okay, another one is balance and proprioception. I'll often just leave it at this, a single leg stance. Okay, a lot you can tell from there. Hip stabilizers, glute medius, glute maximus, all that stuff. People are complaining about knee pain. This is a really good one. Watch how their knee moves. Um, it's just like a glimpse into proprioception. And we're not grading them. Again, when diagnostic procedures, there's grades of proprioception. It gets very precise. Don't worry about that. That's outside of our scope. Remember, we have this freedom to be more creative and use our assessments for meaning making, storytelling. So just look for the strategies they're using. Are they gripping their toes? Are they hiking a hip? Are they holding their breath? Do they sway and catch themselves? See how long they can do. You might measure in seconds and try again after each session. So the thing here is, these self-report tools and just a couple of quick physical screens, You got a compact intake and outtake set you can start using pretty quickly. They're simple, they're scope appropriate, and most importantly, they're client centered. And they help you create this narrative, this story of hope, progress, and possibility. Assessments are not about gatekeeping or diagnosis. It's a story, buy-in, and direction, like Carl Rogers is saying. What direction are we going? We're looking forward. Okay, and we're getting close here to wrapping up, but I want to share a little bit about this concept of nervous system informed body work. Okay, now here's a fact that just kind of blows my mind. We talked about this a little bit earlier. 80% of the fibers in your peripheral nerves are sensory, not motor. Somatosensory system. In other words, your body is mostly listening, not talking. So, really, mastery in body work is not about fancier techniques. It's about listening to what the tissue under your hands is saying moment to moment. In my work with horses, that's what we call listening hands. And it really comes down to safety. For the body to change, the nervous system has to feel safe. Back to Gabor Mate. Safety is not the absence of threat, it's the presence of connection. Again, this isn't soft skills type stuff. It's not fluffy. The research across PT and rehab shows a strong therapeutic alliance predicts better pain and function outcome than actual treatment. Clients don't just respond to what you do, they respond to whether they feel safe, seen, and supported. And a great quick way to kind of check your clients is to think about it from a polyvagal perspective. This comes from the work of Dr. Stephen Porges. I got links to all this stuff in your resource guide. So if one of these subjects, something you want to nerd out on, you can go dive deeper on that. This is a big subject. I'm just going to divide it into three parts for now. There's the ventral vagal, sympathetic, and dorsal. Basically, are they calm and connected? Are they on the muscle or are they just go, go, go? Or are they kind of shut down, frozen and tired? We're not diagnosing. We just want to recognize where they are so that we can signal appropriate safety. All right. And this is not about lecturing clients on neuroscience. It's just a way to frame how you meet people. Okay. And then practically speaking, in terms of our techniques, there's this thing called affective touch. Got a bunch of journal articles for you on this. Really interesting stuff. Gentle, slow techniques, they activate nerve fibers that are wired for comfort and bonding. Remember, you have to feel safe before you can get any real work done. So the other one is breath and presence. Breathing cues paired with steady contact is amazingly powerful. It's a great way to start sessions. I'm sure a lot of you are already doing this. This is kind of some of the how and why beneath the techniques. So a way you can do this, real practically speaking, is you can gently put your hands on somebody's back, ask them to take some big breaths. You have a gentle touch. You might even do a little rocking. That combination stimulates the affective touch and the parasympathetic nervous system through the breathing and presence. And that helps people get really calm, quiet, and connected. And then you can get more work done in your session. So, um, as we wrap up here, it's about safety and technique, presence, breath, and touch, simple cues, and differentiating yourself with nervous system informed pressure. All right, the final thing I want to touch on is how you adapt this to any sport or client population. Okay, the main thing is anchoring in three universals. What do your people want to do? Remember the niche exercise? What do they want to do? What's in their way, and how can you measure it? Just keep it simple and build rapport. That's how you get started. Don't take forever. Don't feel like you need to go get a bunch of certifications to start you playing around with some of this stuff. You can use it and stay in scope. The key with range of motion and muscle testing is to simply find the activities that are important to their sport. We touched on this earlier. Excuse me. You don't need every test Just one or two motions or muscles tied to their goals makes your work memorable. So, a simple way to do this is just start with what they talk about, okay? And here's some quick examples. Range of motion for runners, hip extension, glute medius, pickleball and tennis. Think about shoulder external rotation, manual muscle test, supraspinatus, or scapular stabilizers. Just start with what they talk about. Give some little tests. Here, this is the mistakes you want to avoid. You got to be really reliable with your bony landmarks when you're working with goniometers. And don't get all in the weeds with your manual muscle testing. Don't worry about the grading and all that stuff. That's for diagnostics. You're just noticing, are they able to hold, or does their body start to drift when you're doing the test? And always refer out when you're not sure. So, in conclusion, we've covered some scope appropriate assessments. We've looked beyond numbers and how it's really about rapport and therapeutic alliance. We've talked about how nervous system informed touch helps changes get lasting, and how this is a flexible framework. You don't have to reinvent the wheel every time. You can actually use the same tests, but meeting people where they are at for their goals. And just a reminder, they are going to email you all these resources. I included some motivational interviewing, which is how to talk to people and framing, strength-based lenses and that kind of stuff. And if you'd like to reach out to me, my contact is here. I'll include these slides in the pack too. And I'm launching a Substack in October, and I'd love for you to come join me there. Be fun to have a little party started over on Substack. It's a nice alternative from the other social media. So I just want to say thank you for showing up today. Congratulations on committing to your personal and professional growth. Remember, this is not about diagnostics. It's about direction, story, and safety. You don't need more techniques. You just need deeper rapport and a way to spark your own client's clarity. So I look forward to seeing how you make this your own. Thank you again for showing up. I hope this was helpful, and I hope that it was able to give you some creative ideas.
Hi, Josh.
Hey, Shannon.
So much. That was awesome. I just wanted to kind of kick off our Q&A portion with this comment from Renee. Watching from Denton, Texas. This is amazing. Spot on. I am so excited to see this stuff being shared to the massage community by the massage community.
Awesome, Renee, right? Yeah, I love that. And hi to you as well. Yeah, when I first started learning about this stuff, I was like, this is what we do. Like, this is our strength. This is what we do. Like, it's just kind of putting more names to it and helping us get more clear so we can stand out, right?
Awesome. And I did want to point out, I added the instructions for attendees to earn your credit for today's session. So please follow those simple 3 steps. Again, it will be included in the post-webinar follow-up email with the recording. And like Josh said, all of his links and email contact will be included in that follow-up email. And from there, if we have any questions, we can kick off that portion of today's session. I know that we had a question towards the top here. Janice asked, what kind of meter? I believe that was the,
Oh, for the
yes. Mhm.
For the goniometer, yeah. There's different sizes. Like if you're measuring a big muscle body part like hips and shoulders, they kind of have these bigger ones. And if you're doing little stuff like fingers, they have these little tiny ones. I'd recommend for our purposes, just get the big one and work on those big range of motions at first. You can always kind of refine and get more into that later, but the big ones are the best, and it takes a little practice. It's not super intuitive, but it there is a process to it that once you get that down, it'll probably take about 30 minutes of YouTube and a little practice with a friend, and you'll get it down. You put the axis on the joint, there's a stationary arm, and then there's a moving arm. And then you just gotta like track, the reading on the meter. And yeah, it's called goniometer with a G. It's like two Greek gonia and something. I forget the etymology, but it's a really fun one. And just don't be afraid of, when you look it up and they're like, oh, only doctors and physical therapists can use that. When you stay in scope like we talked about today, there's no problem with using goniometers. It helps with client awareness, and it's a great rapport builder. It's you can have conversation while you're working on it. So it's a really fun tool to add to your practice.
Awesome. Question from Crystal. Any live classes by Josh or even more Zooms? Working with you in person would be a blast.
Thank you, Crystal. It means a lot. I love sharing this stuff. It's just fantastic. Come join me over on the Substack. There's nothing there right now, but you can subscribe. I'm launching that in October. Got some articles ready, and that's a way we can stay in touch and stuff. I'm here in Bend, Oregon, if you're ever in Central Oregon, and you guys got my email as well, or we'll send it to you as part of the pack. I'd love to hear from you. Any ideas you have, anything you're interested in, share with me as well. I've done a lot of teaching in equine massage, working with horses and working with Neil Asher and the good folks over there, like Danny, is kind of got me working more with my favorite people, human massage therapists. So I'd love to hear anything you're interested about too, because that could help guide that. And working with horses is a lot of fun for people. It doesn't mean you need to like create a career in horse massage, but it helps inform your practice. It helps you develop your sense of touch and feel that will, I think, really elevate and change your human practice. At least it did for me.
Awesome. Follow-up comment from Crystal. Perfect. Thank you. I'll be in my hometown of Olympia in December. Equine is my next certification I'd like to work on.
Oh, cool. Right on, Crystal. Yeah, good luck with that. Have fun with it and reach out. That's kind of one of my favorite topics.
Awesome. And then we have a comment from Renee. I really super appreciated how you defined staying in our scope. Very helpful.
Oh, thanks, Renee. I'm glad that was helpful. Yeah, again, I just have been all this imposter syndrome stuff. It just feels like we can't do anything, It's like, oh, the whole medical industry is going to judge us, and it's like, it's not that scary, guys. Like and I think what we do is so important, and the research backs it up. Like I said, there's articles, therapeutic alliance is better predictor of positive outcomes than technique. So just having good rapport, good dialogue with your client, sometimes, that's all it takes. I mean, not to oversimplify it, but yeah, I think you guys are picking up what I'm putting down.
Awesome, Josh. Well, I don't see any more questions in the chat. But again, we will be providing your email in the follow up email to everyone that attended today. So if any questions do pop up, feel free to email Josh directly or visit his sites and the links that we will be including. And I want to just say thank you so much to everyone that's attended. We really appreciate it, and we very much look forward to seeing you at our next session. Thank you so much, Josh, for your time.
Thank you, Shannon. Thanks for putting these on. I looked at your whole catalog. I was like, wow, this is some good stuff. It's an incredible resource you provided. So thank you for the work you're doing.
Yes, thank you so, so much for that call out. Awesome. Everyone, have a wonderful rest of your week.